Welcome to B-Roll Matter Podcast. This is a show that dives into the art of storytelling through video and audio and its impact through various fields. I'm your host, Jamar Bransford, and today we set to uncover the power of storytelling through a whole new light. All right, so I'd like to welcome everybody to B-Roll Matters Podcast, and as you guys have been hearing, we've really been focusing on the different areas of storytelling. And this one, I can say I put my hands down, I respect to a T, because this is one thing that I've realized in news. It takes a team. So it's not always about the person that's in front of the camera, not even the person directly behind the camera, but it's the ones that add the level of detail, only to different productions when I was in news. So even the ones that we kind of see maybe even in our car windows sometimes, but even the ones that we see on the screens that we react to and all those kind of things. So I'd like to welcome to our show today, Rochelle Mann. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And I say that with honesty, like graphic artist is somebody that I can respect to a T. I know technology has changed. That has made things really a little bit easier, but to be able to understand the level of technical aspects when it comes to artistry, I think at its purest form. Talk about that for us.
Well, here's the simple way that I could put it. Everybody can grow a coffee bean, but everybody's not a Starbucks. There's different elements. There's so many things that happen prior to even obtaining the right coffee bean, and how everything is pressed and packaged to gain footing within the final experience, what everybody experiences when they go to Starbucks. There are so many things that happened before then. And so that's what I know creativity and being a graphic designer is. It's everything that's behind the scenes before you get to that final product. It's the thought process. It's the brainstorming. It's the psychology, even color psychology, all of the things that buy into the initial persuasion of what has you wanting to buy the product, attend the event, watch the show.
Yeah.
There's so many different pieces that come into play and come into mind beforehand.
So I want to even take a step back. Let's when you introduce yourself to our audience, you have been doing this for a little bit now, and you have a little bit of a nice little resume. We're very proud of you here. From everything from the Super Bowl gospel show, correct?
Yes,
all the way
formerly
to
known as the Super Bowl gospel, now known as the Super Bowl soulful celebration.
Soulful, okay, all the way to a lot of our roots. Which is what we do on Sunday morning at church too. So kind of give us a little bit of insight into your world.
Well, my life has always been around church, music, creativity, those things. My brain is half administrative, half creative. So because of that, because of my experiences, I'm a PK.
That's a good balance, though.
It's a good balance. It's a balance. It really is. And because I'm a PK, my father pastored and the whole nine. So I learned the inner workings of so many things. So that taught me the balance of how to function in the marketplace, how to function within ministry, then, becoming a musician. So how to build teams, how to be a part of a band, all the way to my first encounter with the founder of the Super Bowl at that point, gospel celebration,
right,
when the Super Bowl came to Detroit. And so it was at that point. You want me to tell that story? I can go for it.
Please.
So what ended up happening was I, at the time, I was doing some work with Commission. Commission had not too long ago finished the Commission reunion recording and all of that stuff. And so the Super Bowl was coming to Detroit, and I found out that there was a Super Bowl gospel celebration that was going to be a part of Super Bowl week festivities. So I called the number that was at the bottom of the press release, and I did not know that that phone number was to the founder, Melanie Few.
Mm,
So I called her and I heard beeping in the background. I said, I'm sorry, is this a bad time? She was like, no, it's not a bad time. I'm sitting here working while caring for my mother. And I said, if you don't mind me asking, what's going on? She said, well, the doctors actually don't give my mother long to live. What? I said,
wow.
okay, well, having the balance between ministry and marketplace,
Right.
when I got off of the phone and was got done telling her what all I needed to tell her, I said, "Can I pray for you?" She said, "Sure." And by the time I got done praying, apparently God allowed for me to be able to touch on some of the secret prayers. A couple of days later, her mother did indeed pass,
Hmm.
and she asked me. She said, "It's something about you." She said, "I can't put commission on the show because I already have the show locked down. Who all I want on there." But don't you live in Detroit? Because I could use your help. Send me your resume. Got there, did, everything that she needed me to do, and a few other things. Represented Ebony Magazine, who was a top tier sponsor for the show that year. And the rest is history. Melanie hasn't let me go.
Wow. Talking
Yep.
about because you were being your authentic self. That
Yes.
and you didn't stray away from your roots.
No.
Some people that you feel like you in certain circles, you turn the switch on, you turn the switch off.
Mm-mm.
But if you, as we know, you put God first in
Hmm.
any particular situation, and God will
Hmm.
always make sure that the situation shines.
Exactly.
um so really talk. I want you to kind of talk about. So I'm really big on people like storytelling.
Hmm.
So like again, people always think about the photographers and the videographers and
Hmm.
the people from, but you create this level of telling stories through graphics.
Hmm.
Kind of talk to me about how you do that with that half of your half of your mind.
With that half.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I actually have to start with the administrative side of
Oh.
my mind. I have to have the conversations with the visionary. What
Mm,
is it that you're trying to accomplish? Who are you trying to attract? What do you feel is the title of that? Because sometimes I have to dial back and say, what's the title of this event? What's the title of that book?
basics.
What's the name of, this service? What is, everything? I have to ask that. What is the name of your business?
Right.
You know, if the name of your business is Divine Designs, but your customers are mostly non-religious entities, you
Right.
may want to change the name.
Right.
And
Seriously.
so the conversation, I have to have those consulting conversations to initiate everything. Then once the ideas of everything are locked in, boom, I can turn on the creative switch of who I am
Mm,
and say, all right, if they're adhering to a younger age bracket, if they want youth and young adults, they want kids to be at this event because this is a kid event. Okay, I'm going to use brighter colors. I'm not using brown. I'm not using baby blue. I'm not using those euphoric colors
right.
that bring, let's say, serenity. I'm bringing energy instead of serenity when I choose a brighter color.
Right.
And so that's how I utilize my administrative side of my mind. Then I go into my creative mindset, and so then okay, now there's the colors. Now it's some of the visuals, maybe some of the symbolic things that need to play into everything. For instance, with the Super Bowl changes cities every year.
Hmm.
And there's a style guide, a brand style guide that the NFL gives to us. And that style guide, which maps out colors, the purpose of the colors, the history of the city, all of those things play into the colors. Not just about the team, but the culture of the city that they're
There
going
you
to.
go. Mm,
And so when we were in Phoenix, then we had the bright oranges and reds and blues and purples that are depicted with not only, some of your sports teams element like, NFL teams, but also when you look at the Phoenix Sun from the WNBA.
right.
I mean, of Phoenix
The
Mercury is with the
right,
WNBA, Phoenix Suns with the NBA.
right, right,
Their color scheme matches those colors. It helps to tell the story of the Phoenix experience, right? And so it comes across as a full fledged story from curtain to curtain when you choose the right colors, when you have the right titles, and you use the right symbols and added imagery
right.
to tell what it's going to be about. It adds the excitement to what's to come and adds to the draw and marketability of what you're trying to accomplish.
That is awesome, and to be able to hear it from that level is something that I really never even heard before. Because again, though, that's those part of the conversations for us. We just kind of show up. Oh, that's dope. That's good to see. But we never really think about the amount of thought that goes into
Yeah.
the thought processes that really goes into the things that we see now on the screens.
Hmm.
That's mounted everywhere nowadays. They have, as you see, the type of digital screens that they have on the stages and stuff, and
Hmm.
digital backgrounds that goes along with each particular song set that's going along.
Yeah.
Really adds to the visual effect, that we do as we begin to start telling the stories.
Yeah.
So kind of talk about, you mentioned about growing up in Detroit. Kind of talk about kind of life growing up as a PK kid. What was your
Whew.
what was your hopes and dreams growing up? Was it always to be into graphic arts and all of that in that realm, or was it something that was way out doing something
Mhm.
else? What was that? What was that?
So I come from a musical and athletic family. I've got cousins that our coaching used to coach, our playing used to play various sports. I'm talking about cousins that are Mr. Basketballs and state champs when it comes down to football and the whole nine. And so I actually played basketball in high
Okay,
school. I played my freshman year. I did not play my sophomore and junior year. I was going to play my senior year. I opted out really at the last minute, and but I still got a letter from Xavier University. I was recruited,
okay.
yeah,
Oh, so
by
you was a
Xavier.
baller.
That's
Oh wow.
what they say. I was so into though not just the skill, but the knowledge of how to play the game. So, and that was when the WNBA was really thriving, and Oakland University was coming into their first year of Division One athletics. And so, when I was graduating from high school, I was recruited to redshirt my freshman year,
Hmm.
and I found myself loving technology and business, and saying that I myself had more longevity there.
Okay.
So I said, oh, and I can also apply maybe some of these things to the church background. I'm classically trained on the piano, so I'm like, okay, I can maybe throw that somewhere in there. So I was always trying to keep myself involved with those elements. I said, I don't know if there's longevity in me being an athlete.
Right.
I wanted to do something that I can stick with because all it takes is one bad move and my ACL is gone.
Correct.
So, with all of that background, being in the gospel music industry, traveling and knowing and having to have worked with a number of different gospel and R&B artists, because I've done some stuff with Drew Hill and different things. So I've kind of been a part of those circles. I said, let me put something together, or let me involve myself in things that I know that I could fit in, but at the same time I'm a natural person that likes to bridge the gap.
Okay.
So I said, what exists where all of these things can really come into play? And so that's where my love for, you know, inspiration,
Hmm.
music, sports, creativity, business, that's where all of these things come into play. And so being a PK growing up in Detroit, Detroit is a culture in and of itself.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So you've got the mecca of music here in Detroit. And so it was the easy pickings. I grew up around the Winans family, grew up around the Clark sisters, Vanessa Bell Armstrong, Dietrich Hatton, working with them. to where it's like, okay, church and music is going to be found somewhere in my resume and in my career down the
Sure.
line. And
Yeah.
that's what it folded out, into.
Wow. Um, so was the growing up as a PK kid, was it are you not what people always think about when they think of PK kids?
I am not.
Okay. All right. I just want to ask.
Wee!
Sometimes he'd be like, "Oh man, that must be trouble
PKs, they
walking."
the worst.
Don't they always say that?
No, no, not me. Because I had too much writing on me. I have such strong, following, and I built my integrity, and I didn't want to do anything that was gonna, overcast that.
For sure.
So I've been big on that. Like when my name is spoken in other rooms,
Yeah.
I want it to stand on its own, whether I'm standing in the
Absolutely.
room or not. And I've always been like that.
Absolutely.
So, and that's not just church stuff, that's in business as well.
I
And
agree.
so, I've always been, that honor roll student. I can hang with the nerds, but I can hang with the cool kids
There you
too.
go.
So I,
Yeah.
I hung with both crowds. So
Right.
that wasn't my thing. And my dad was a cool cat. Everybody loved my dad. Everybody loved my dad. I've got high school classmates and everything that sometimes just be like, man, I remember when your dad, blah, 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 blah. And my
That's
dad
cool.
passed in 2011. So for them to still 13 years later, still just come to me with stories
Right.
about my dad, it's hilarious to me.
Right.
It's hilarious to me. I love it though. But that's what, we stood on. So no, I'm not that, I'm not that kind of PK kid.
Why was
No.
it important for you to begin your own business? Why not just go work for some major firm somewhere, creating graphics for them? Why was it important for you to just to make sure you did it on your own, or just do it on your own?
I, because to an extent, I've always saw myself as a major. I've always saw myself as a major. I've never really liked people having their thumb on me, so to
Hmm.
speak. Now, have I had some 9 to 5s? Yeah, because I had to make sure some things were supplemented. There were some 9 to 5s I picked up because business was slow, and I would just have to work extra long and extra hard, starting at 5:01
Right.
during my lunch periods. I had to do it. I did
Right.
what I needed to do, but I always saw myself as a big fish. Always did because of who I've known and what my name was early on. Being a part of the commission legacy. Being connected to the Winans legacy. I've always been around greatness,
Mm.
and being enclosed in the doors and held to somebody else's standards during the 9 to 5, and somebody else telling me what to do all day every day. Mm-mm,
Right.
mm-mm. No, I couldn't. I couldn't. I like telling
Say
myself
not
what to do.
today.
No, not today, not tomorrow. No, not next week. It just,
Right.
I couldn't do it. And I felt as though being in 9 to 5s, people telling me what to do, shortened the lifespan of my creativity. Like it would put it in a box and start squeezing it and choke the life out of it, so to speak, because I had to follow all of these guidelines and we just want you to do this. And at first it sounded like a great graphic, and then in the end it's just a Word document. I'm not about to sit here and do that and my creativity is dying over here. No,
Right.
no.
Right.
And I love to travel. I've been some of everywhere. Can't do that when I have a 9 to 5. Can't do
What's
it.
what's going to be so kind of walk us through, not what's going to be. I'm scratch that. So talk about your business a little bit more, like what's all involved in it, and then what's like the best part of it. You have any stories with a certain client or something like that where you could that just blows your mind that this actually happened or something like that, good or bad.
So Man Made Productions is the company that I own officially, according to the government and the whole nine. Yes, I'm Sam.gov knows who I am.
Thank you
Nate's
for
code and
being
all.
legal. Yes, people. It's
Yes, like
okay.
I can go ahead and I can bid on government contracts. I am legal. Pay taxes legal.
Right.
Man Made Productions Incorporated is the business that I own. Rochelle Mann, I myself, later on down the line, I realized that I am a brand outside even just Man Made Productions. So I started out as just being the owner of Man Made Productions, but then I grew into being a teacher, being a minister, being a consultant, and all of these things. So Man Made Productions is the, let's say, the product side of who I am, and being able to teach and train and develop teams, individuals, and the whole nine. That is the service side of who I am. And so it's hilarious because a lot of times in these creative and media sectors, you don't see a lot of women, let alone Black women. So I'm
None.
kind of a double negative
Yeah,
here,
seriously.
right?
Seriously. Really.
Like, and being in my 40s, but having 20 years of experience.
Yeah.
Some people are just now starting in their 40s trying to accomplish what I've accomplished. And so, one story, I had someone to call me. They were the PR for a celebrity. Um, and so they called me. They said, "Ro, such and such needs you to go ahead and redesign their foundation logo and all of this, and all of that." Okay, all right, knocked it out. And they were the middleman. I never did speak to the celebrity initially.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, all right. So got the emails and I saw, what was going on, going back and forth, and we landed on it. And so this celebrity was like, "Yo, man, your boy laced this logo." They were like, no, this was a girl. Celebrity was like, "No, no, 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 no. I've done, the way that they handled themselves and their level of creativity and kind of understanding how men talk and all that other. I'm just thinking this is a man, right? Like, no, this is a female. All right. So where they live at?" Like, she lives in Detroit. Okay, I got a show coming up in Lansing. All right. Tell her to meet me in VIP after the show. And I think we had like a code phrase or code word or something like that. Knew my name, but he was like, I won't believe it until I see it. Walked in VIP and I said, "Hello, I just designed your." Wait a minute, what's the code word? And I said it, and he said, "You a full grown woman. You really were not a guy."
And
I
not a full
said,
grown woman.
"Sir, sir." Said celebrity was the one and only Ricky Smiley.
Shut up. I love Ricky. That is dope.
So we had a good time, a great laugh about that because
For
he was
sure.
just like, in all of the things that he's had designed, he said he couldn't recall ever having a woman to design, and it was such an easy process for him. He was excited.
That's dope.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, from you sent me this when I asked for some of your information, just a little
Hmm.
background, check out some of
Hmm.
your website. You have worked with, I mean, a number of like major companies,
Hmm.
events and stuff. Why don't you kind of talk about that? Just kind of go through it, take a bow in the meantime. No,
Ah.
seriously, for the two reasons that you just mentioned, and two of the reasons that I even started the B Roll Matters media camp is
Hmm.
because even myself, I was very rarely, well, I was most of the time the only black photographer
Yeah.
in many of the circles,
Yeah.
whether it's these major press conferences when I traveled and covered stuff for the news, always the only black person, if
Yeah.
not one, maybe two, right?
Yeah.
Maybe when I was working in the news station in Detroit, it was a nice mix when I was
Hmm.
there. But for the other
Yeah.
part, yo, I'm by
Yeah.
myself. So I do understand. But then you said it was really weird because not only you black, but you're a black woman
Yeah.
in this business where
Yeah.
it's really dominated by white males,
Yeah.
right? So that's why I say take a bow because I know it wasn't easy breaking through what you just mentioned with the story with Ricky Smiley. They couldn't even imagine that this was a black
Right.
woman who
Right.
was able to provide what they just the services you just
Right.
provided them. So yeah, take about walk through and kind of tell us
Appreciate
about
it.
some of these ones that you have. I mean, I was just like mouth dropped.
Well, I mean, when it comes down to the graphic design side, that's a, let's say, chunk of what I've been doing over time. Working with Melanie Few, she is the brainchild of Results Media and Marketing. And so, being her creative director for all of her elements has afforded me the opportunity to have marketing conversations, branding conversations, and creative direction conversations, and handling a lot of production and B-roll elements,
Hmm.
videography, photography, and all of those elements for events concerning Amazon Pharmacy, Women Evolve, Women of Faith, Reimagined Tour, Oprah's tour that she did, the Festival of Praise tour. They had Fred Hammond, Hezekiah Walker, Donnie McClurkin, so on and so forth.
Woo.
Then being a part of course, Super Bowl Soulful Celebration. They've been on Ion, Amazon, BET. This year was CBS. So we have those elements. We've got the Church of God in Christ, largest Pentecostal movement,
Yeah.
having to have designed and had those conversations with the national church, not just the local church, but also the national church, the city of Saginaw, city of Detroit, city of Southfield.
Mm.
It's a myriad of entities that I've been afforded the opportunity to be a part of. So
Dope.
I don't take it lightly. I'm honored to have been a part of those, including including the All Star Gospel Celebration. So there's those NBA elements.
Yeah.
I'm a basketball fan. When it comes down to it, I definitely understand football and basketball, but basketball is where my heart is.
Right.
Some WNBA athletes, then the GWBA, which is kind of like the minor league of the WNBA. So yeah, I've spent some time in the mix.
Yeah.
Spent some time in the mix. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's impressive.
I appreciate
That
that.
is really impressive. So with all of that, what's next?
Well, I've got some things brewing.
Okay.
Um, I can't speak on all of them yet,
Fair.
but I do have a couple of entities that I have recently become tied to in the athletic sphere. The Stellar Awards was just recent, and so
Hmm.
definitely reconnecting with different artists. So handling some things within the music industry. There are still some big conferences that are coming up that I may be taking part of, but at the same time, I'm really probably going to be taking care of more um, state, local, some federal entities.
Sure.
Because let's be honest, um, coin is there, so you follow where the coin is,
Yes, it is. It's
and
definitely available.
they have coin. They have coin. I have a proposal now that I'm working on with um, Metro Airport.
Okay.
I have another proposal in regards to my community college in Flint.
Wow.
So there are, some things that are brewing, some proposals that are there, and this is probably public knowledge, which is why I can, go ahead
Sure.
and mention those entities. But yeah, I'm not running away from anything else. Uh, I'm definitely engaging in a number of conversations because I see some things that are on the horizon. I'm loving what I'm seeing with women in sports,
Mm, yes.
on the court, behind the desk.
Yes. This has been an evolution.
I love it. And so I've been tapping into a few conversations and just trying to see where I can assist.
So talking talking about B roll matters to show, right? So what most people don't realize that I began B roll matters is because I really wanted to continue the legacy of being a storyteller to a lot of black, brown, underserved youth in our community. For those who don't know, like B-roll matters is no B-roll is just simply a word we use in industry that just means video, and how video matters and how we use it to tell stories matter. The way we use it to tell our history, and even our perspective, and we do in news, we tell these stories, and all of that matters and how we do it. And I just want to ask you, how does being a creative or being a graphic artist, how does that matter? Can you tell us how that matters to you?
Okay, so I'm going to take this a different, not necessarily a different route, but a route that will probably be a teaching moment for many black and brown entities. Okay. Having B roll is paramount when it comes down to telling your story after the fact so that you can, one, prepare for the future, for future events, future whatever, but also preparing for the future when it comes down to obtaining sponsorship.
Mm,
In our space, well, I'll make it personal. In my space, I keep a team of photographers and videographers as a part of man-made productions, right?
yep.
And so anytime that we do a show, usually it's tied to or has some sort of sponsorship tied to it. Beforehand, going back to the administrative part of things, before the event ever happens, we are in contract talks about, hey, if you give us $25,000, this is what we can do for you.
Right.
And part of it is B roll. Let's say if it's a hair care product, okay, and it's just for, let's say, a women's event, a women's brunch,
Right.
and they decide to give that entity $25,000. Administratively, what I've written into the contract is, hey, you give us a $25,000, we'll make sure that we put out video footage and everything that includes your name and your brand, and maybe a commercial saying thank
Right.
you to such and such and so and so. You can't do any of that without B roll. So the life of an event, the life of what happens creatively goes beyond when everything is finished, because there's
Mm,
still a story to tell afterwards, because you want to tell the story again for future events.
correct.
But a lot of times it's the future dollar that people are having issues with. So when you create those strategic partnerships and you have to meet those contract needs, B-roll footage is so key and it's paramount. And having people that know how to tell a story without having those pieces already put together. The team that I use, we have creative meetings beforehand, and
Hmm.
they start spinning their wheels saying, okay, I'm going to make sure I capture this angle, that angle, this angle. And then I'm going to make sure that I see this and I get that. And then, oh, I want to get an interview with such and such and such and such, because in their mind, they've already put the commercial together.
Correct.
That way, when it's all
Visualization.
totally, but telling the story already in their mind and knowing how it's visual storytelling, and knowing how they are going to put this out on social media, because that's what social media is visual storytelling. But the thing is that, is the story factual or is the story a story?
Mm,
Are you going to buy into the story? That's what social media is. Stories. Society telling a story, whether it's from CNN
right.
or Pookie on the corner.
Right.
And so B-roll footage is so key and paramount because you can't recreate those moments.
Nope.
So videographers and photographers and creative directors, a creative team overall, are so key, because if those moments are missed and that commercial isn't put together correctly,
Mm,
that event may have lost sponsorship dollars because they didn't fulfill the contract. So
preach.
that's how important things are beyond just I got a graphic designer and I don't need anything else. No, you need a whole creative team
Yeah.
because you're leaving opportunities on the table when you don't involve a creative team. And that's part of, what I've taught and I've explained when it comes down to event planning. You need a creative team, or at least a creative director to be a part of the planning process so that you can be informed as to everything that you need rather than trying to find a videographer 24 hours before your event.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, that part.
Yeah. Well, finding a good one. I mean, your cousin Pookie, know how to do,
That has an iPhone. That has an iPhone. That has an iPhone.
Man, I do. It's always cool to hear that level of appreciation. Because some people I think don't really understand or even respect that level that has to come to
Not
capture these
until it's too
moments.
late.
It's, I mean,
Not until it's too late.
not till it's too late, and then the opportunity for next time is now missed.
There you
You
go.
know, and again, we don't get a lot of opportunities to get through the door. So when you get through the door,
Hmm.
sometimes you have to make sure that you grab hold of it and
Hmm.
do things properly,
Yeah.
by telling that story the way that
Yeah.
they've never seen before.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, with the NFL Players Choir, the team that I utilize for that, and that's another entity I have not mentioned today. Yep, there's a Players Choir of
just
NFL
just
players.
got to throw that in there real
I
quick.
mean, Hail Mary, just down there. But it's a choir of current and former players from the NFL who sing, and so we were on America's Got Talent, and they made it to the semifinals. So they made it almost to the final round, right before the final round. But they have such a story to tell. So I keep a team around me who's always ready. Like
Mm-hmm.
we pay them to stay ready, to travel with us and to be ready at all times. And now we're able to vouch for sponsorships. It's no secret. Febreze just sponsored them to perform at Essence, so
Wow.
they performed at Essence. Well, part of that is thanks to B roll footage that was captured because they were able to pitch, hey, this is what we could do, and blah, 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 blah. You create the story, you make these elements happen so organically, and boom, there you have it. Febreze is happy, Players Choir is happy, everybody's happy.
That's dope.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
dope. That's just, I
yeah.
don't know where we at. Where we at? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
So, is there? I mean, I really do appreciate your time. I know you are definitely a busy lady, and I do appreciate you um, coming along on this podcast. Is there anything else you want to add or say to your peeps?
You know, I, be true to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that takes finding out who you are
Mm,
first. So you can't be true to something that you don't know is. And if there isn't a mold for who you are, that's okay. For me, I'm like, okay, here I am, this church girl, and I got this administrative mind, but I've got this creative mind, but I'm a musician. I know this, I know that, but I became all of those things because every time I showed up somewhere, I was needed to fill in a gap.
mm,
And it took a 2-day strategy session for me to find out that my purpose was to fill gaps. And that's why I'm talented in a number of different areas. And I don't just have just one thing that I do. My one thing is to bridge the gap. So be true to who you are, but make sure you know who you are first.
facts.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, again, I do appreciate it. Thank you for the knowledge. Thank you for opening our eyes to everything in the creative space that you've brought us into. Most of us will only live through you and your success.
Ah,
But I truly do appreciate it. I think it takes all of us to help change the future of storytelling with our young people.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you are that example that we need to see. And thanks for
Appreciate
being
that.
true to who you are.
All day long.
Trust me, people are watching, even myself. I mean, I love seeing it. I mean, and I'm one who will love to celebrate everyone, right? Because
Appreciate
as you see, there's plenty of space for us all to eat, and we don't have to compete against each
it.
other,
All.
but only just listen. If I can help, bam, I'm here. You know, so
Exactly.
I do appreciate that, and I do appreciate that about you. So much love to all your success, and thank you for being on the podcast, man. It's dope.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah. All right. Welcome to B-Roll Matter Podcast. This is a show that dives into the art of storytelling through video and audio and its impact through various fields. I'm your host, Jamal Bransford, and today we set to uncover the power of storytelling through a whole new light.